Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Awakened Souls podcast. I'm your host, Devin Brown, a Kundalini activator, spiritual guide, mentor, and hopefully just a great source of entertainment for you. Let's get ready to dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Monday, another week, another time, another space. We're getting towards the end of summer, heading into our fall equinox season. Not quite there yet. We still got a little bit of ways to go, but this is technically heading into my favorite time of year. But this week, we are actually going to be discussing the importance of surrender and the importance of asking for help and seeking respite and rest in our healing journey. We have this idea a lot of the times when we are healing and we're thinking, okay, we're our own healer. We must keep going, like overcome all, keep going, etc. Even for ourselves, like we can become proud of ourselves. We can look at how far we've come, like what it is we've overcome, like all of this, and have so much pride in that space, which is a good thing, 100% a good thing, wonderful thing. However, what can happen is we can cross this threshold where we begin to feel hyper independent. We begin to feel like every time we don't feel right that we have to dive in and do shadow work and we have to look within ourselves and do all of this stuff. And we kind of begin to overcompensate for this idea that community isn't around us, isn't important, especially if you come from a trauma background where you feel like you've always had to take care of yourself. You feel like your needs are not important. You feel as if you've always had to be the one to be there for other people, but you're not there for yourself, or that you're the one that has to be strong, or you're allowed to feel things for a little bit and then you have to let it go because you already felt it and you're not allowed to hold on to it and keep holding on to it. There's so many different examples and different ways that I can give for that. But I want to put in perspective, as humanity, we were created to be able to connect with others. We were created to have this mindset of community. Running in packs, it's an animal trait. Like flocks of birds, it's an animal trait. Like herds of animals, it's an animal trait. All of this stuff. There's very few animals that are completely alone. And if we look at humanity in general, we are animals. Like our figure, we're in the animal family type situation. We're not a plant. We're not, bedrock. We're not soil. We're not any of those things. We are living flesh and blood. We're considered mammals, just like the rest of the animals are, that give birth to live offspring and feed their young from themselves and so forth. So like we have lost over time this idea of community and camaraderie unless it is meant for a benefit of a very small select group, or unless it is meant for control. And we have lost ourselves in that as well. We've lost our guidance. We've lost our trust in other people and our trust in humanity. Recently, I went through some situations where I had no choice but to ask others for help. Literally no choice. And that was so hard for me. But it made me sit with myself and be like, why is this so hard? Why is this so difficult? And I realized it's because I have been trained that I have to do it all myself. I've been conditioned I have to do it all myself. I have been taught through the actions of others that I cannot rely on them, that they are finicky, that they might say that they'll do something and then they don't. They will say that they're going to do something and they do the opposite, or their actions just do not align with their words. And I noticed a pattern where I had somehow stepped into, or continued to step into, because this has been my entire life pretty much, that I always felt responsible for other people's emotions. That's part of codependence. That's something that I've worked really hard to overcome. But somewhere along the line, I stopped giving trust to other people. I started learning to trust myself, which is good because I can take care of myself. My value comes from myself. It's already in existence. My value doesn't come because I do things for others or work with others or anything like that. My value is already in existence. So part of the lesson that I've learned recently is that there is importance and there is value in humility and saying, I need help. And there is value in having relationships that you are willing and feel safe enough to ask for help in. And this is not something that's always been easy. And it is something that I just started about 3 years ago, but even more so recently, I have had to ask for help in ways that I typically, in the past, honestly, I think I would have been ashamed for, or I think I would have felt guilty for, or felt like I was a burden for. But at this point, I'm like, no, if someone messaged me and needed this, I'd be like, yes, absolutely. Let me help you. But why is it so hard for me to do it for other people? And it's because I was still holding on to this idea and this conditioned mindset that I had to help others because of who I am, because of my mission, because of whatever. And I wasn't allowed to accept help myself. But that is the polar opposite. Part of being human, part of being me is also being willing to allow vulnerable relationships in again that are equally beneficial, allowing vulnerable relationships in that are going to allow me to move forward in a good, positive way, allowing myself to flow and to be, and just accepting that I may not understand everything that is in the future. I may not understand everything that is coming my way, but I do know that I have people that will walk beside me. It makes me think of that old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And that's how it used to be. That's how it should be. Different perspectives, different ideas, different protection. A child knowing that they are surrounded by more than just one person who makes them feel safe. And somewhere along the way, we have lost that in humanity. And my mission for myself is to learn how to accept and receive, to learn how to ask for help, to learn to be someone who accepts the kindness of strangers, and to be someone who accepts the kindness of those who love me and care about me instead of feeling like a burden. And I do know that anyone who helps me would never want me to even think that I'm a burden, because they don't see me that way. And so it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with myself and the way that I have allowed relationships and the idea of what they're meant to be to take place in my life. So there needs to be a vulnerable side of you that says, okay, I can vent, I can cry, I can be safe with other people besides myself. And if you don't have that community, I do ache for you. I understand how lonely that can feel. I understand how scary that can feel. I understand how much that needs to change. And I would encourage you to branch out and get out of your comfort zone and try to open to new relationships that maybe will welcome in that vulnerability without being the person that is constantly giving to other people. Because I noticed one of the things that I did was I became a giver, and I gave and I gave and I gave, hoping that I could receive too at some point. But then I would still feel like I couldn't receive, or if I asked and the person said no, I would feel like, okay, well then I guess that's it. Even if they had a good reason to say no, you know what I mean? Like it would instantly put a stop to me wanting to ask. And I have learned through this journey to really accept the fact that I'm only one person. I'm one person who is a single mom, a full-time college student, a business owner, a entrepreneur, a friend, a mentor, a guide, just a partner, so much more. I'm one person, but I am also so much more. But with that, I sometimes need help. I can't carry the world. I can't do it all on my own. And that is hard. It's a hard place to be when you hit a place of forced rest, when you're used to doing everything. It's a hard place to be when you hit a place where you are required to take stock of your life, take stock of your situations, take stock of what's going on around you. But I would encourage you to look at your life and look, where are you struggling to accept help that you know your life would be infinitely easier if you had it? And where are you in a place where you know that the dynamic is unfair, the dynamic is not right, the dynamic will not change, well, then what are you going to do about that relationship? Recently, I went through my Facebook and I had a bunch of people on there that I have not had a conversation with in over a year. Like literally not spoken to in over a year. They have no reason to be on my social media, my private social media. They have no reason to be on there. If people are not equally investing in me, equally investing and wanting to know about my life, know who I am, know where I'm going, know what I'm doing, then they don't need to know anything about my life. And that's kind of one of those things that I'm very much learning to foster and to accept and to welcome in only relationships that are equally beneficial. This is something I've been saying for a while. But with that, equally beneficial means I myself am allowed to ask for help. I myself am allowed to receive, but I'm also responsible for holding away the reaction when I ask and they say, I'm sorry, I can't, or I ask and they say no, to understanding, okay, that's all right. Like, I know they would if they could, you know what I mean? But they just can't right now. Like, there is nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. And I feel like there's a lot of people that what they do is they end up having this victim mentality when they're the givers. They have this idea of, well, okay, they said no, so I'm just never going to ask them again. Like, no, that's not what they said. They just said they can't right now. Like, they didn't need to justify. They didn't need to explain. They didn't need to do anything. No is a complete sentence. And I have reached a point where I am okay hearing no. I am okay receiving no. And now I am working on receiving yes. I am working on receiving absolutely. I am working on receiving help. And I am proud of myself for it. It's an uncomfortable place to be. I'm not going to lie. It's very uncomfortable for me. And so I would challenge you, if you were hyper independent, that's actually a trauma response. If you were hyper focused on just doing it yourself because it's easier, that's a trauma response. Let's go back and reparent yourself and look at why is it that you felt like you were not okay accepting help? Where is it? Like, I have done a lot of reparenting myself, a lot of revisiting situations from childhood and reliving situations this past month, which has exhausted me. Not gonna lie, exhausted me. But I've had so much emotional release with it as well that has allowed me to be set free and has allowed me to just spread my wings in a completely different way than I've ever spread them before. And I'm never going back again. So now, little by little, every day I will be willing to ask for help if I need it. Every day I will be willing to accept that I am in human form. I cannot do it all. And so therefore I will accept that there are people who love me. There are people who care about me. There are people who want to know me, that want to know who I am as a person and want to also just like walk with me. They want to walk with me in everything that we do and everything that we say. And we want to see each other grow. We want to see each other succeed. We want to see each other move forward. And those are the relationships that I will foster. Those are the places that I will focus on receiving. So this month's focus for me, the month of August, the rest of the month of August, is on receiving. It's on receiving. It's on receiving help. It's on receiving health. It's on receiving answers. It's on receiving guidance. It's on receiving love. It's on receiving friendship. It's on receiving. And I'm not going to be afraid to ask for help ever again. And I love how I said that. It is 333. And I hope that you guys can get to that point as well. I hope that you can get to a point where you are so full of love and so full of compassion for yourself and for who you are meant to be, that there is just nowhere else for you to go but up. That being said, if you need help, if you need guidance, if you need understanding, if you need wisdom to be brought in to deeper, brought into a place that's going to bring and solidify beauty for you, brought into a place that is going to help you understand and know yourself, come join my Quantum Circle. We're going to be doing the Kundalini activation program. We're going to be moving together and molding together and shaping together. But beyond that, you can also join as a free member. I do my energy updates. I do my little writing updates, all of that stuff. And I'm focusing all of my energy when I put out my platforms here on the podcast and there on my Patreon. And I would love to meet with you. So as always, I hope you have a happy Monday and we will talk soon.